Letter 11. On the causes of laughter. Screwtape kind of goes in to explain to Wormwood what is it that causes laughter for us as human beings. Apparently, laughter is not something that, well, the demons quite understand. It's not something that, well, maybe they enjoy. Apparently, hell is a much more serious place than what many people might think. And maybe heaven is just a little bit more merry than what a lot of people might think. So in any case, Screwtape, he goes into, well, what are the four causes of laughter? He says that they're joy, fun, a joke, or the joke proper, and the last one, flippancy. And now joy we can kind of understand. This is definitely a cause of laughter, and the example that Screwtape gives is being together with family, friends, with loved ones during the holidays. That all it takes is just a little story, a little joke. And it's not really about the story, it's not about really the joke that brings up, well, that levity, that merriment, that cheerfulness, that laughter that arises just by being with those whom we love. And we know this because when we get together for Thanksgiving or Christmas or something like that, it's really not about hearing our uncle say the same story a 18th time. We've heard it already. We know where it's going, but we still laugh because, well, there's some underlying joy that is there in being with one another and being in another's presence. And this sort of merriment is something that the demons, they don't have. Demons don't have joy. Hell is not a joyous place. It's much more austere, much more serious, much more kind of about the detail rather than about allowing life to kind of just spring up and arise spontaneously and wonderfully. That is something that we get a taste of when we're with family, friends, loved ones here on earth, but something that we will certainly be immersed in when we arrive in heaven one day. That's why Screwtape talks about music as something that is also, similar to joy. It's something that's spontaneous and wonderful that arises of the heart. It's the heart singing. It's something that will be in heaven. It's something that we rejoice in here on earth, but it's not something that they have in hell. It's not something that the demons are used to. They don't laugh out of joy. They don't sing musically to provide the glory of God. They speak. They're bland. But joy is not something that they really understand. So the first cause of laughter that he goes into is joy. The second one he just enumerates. He just says it's fun. But then he doesn't go back to it at all in the letter. Now maybe this is an omission of C.S. Lewis. He just started the letter, he put four causes, and then he just forgot. Or maybe it's because we're supposed to understand fun as being kind of a joy to a lesser degree. So really it's the same thing as joy. It might not just be a fullness of joy. And so it's kind of a mitigated experience of joy, a momentary experience of joy, rather than something that is kind of sustaining like we get from family life. Maybe fun is more of something, a passing sort of thing, like a nice day or a picnic, something that is fun, but isn't necessarily like based in, joy that's immovable, joy that will always be there to support us. So those are the first two, joy and then fun. The third one is the joke proper. People can make jokes about things, and that can cause, well, laughter. And yet, Screwtape kind of gives us two different types of jokes. And the one, he says, is beneficial to the demons, but the other one is not. So the one that is not beneficial to the demons, the one that is actually maybe a good and true, proper joke, is given rise from, well, incongruities. If I could speak today, man, when things are incongruent, whenever I have to say the big words, I really have to think. And when you see something that's kind of out of place, when you see something that's incongruent with the situation, you can make a joke about it. You can perceive someone at a very base level, I don't know, carrying an umbrella on a beautiful sunny day. You might laugh about that. You might even comment or make a joke about someone who does something like that. It's incongruent. You can make a joke about, he says about virtue, about certain aspects of one virtue versus another, and if you know the different details about each and every one of those things, if you can find an incongruency between them, you can make a joke about it. And these sorts of jokes are kind of difficult. They're kind of hard. That's why the life of a comedian is quite difficult. To really be funny, you have to find, the incongruencies of life, the things that we do that we don't realize that what we're doing is actually kind of, out of sorts. And then we can laugh about it because of those things. But see, that sort of joke, it gives rise from the experience. It's not forced. It's something that is just kind of naturally there. And it takes a good comic or a comedic genius to be able to point those things out. The other sort of joke doesn't come up, isn't observed from experience. It's something that is forced down from someone's obsession about something or from someone's lack of ability to see. And so this is when you get distasteful jokes that are just, not really jokes at all. They're just something maybe even mean, something that just comes from what the person is obsessed with. And then they just kind of blurt it out or point it out, and they actually push something onto the situation, and it's kind of a little out of color. So the example that is used in this letter is about jokes about sex. There's many things about sexuality, about male, female. There's many incongruencies there that can give rise to many different jokes that just kind of rise up about the relationships between men and women. And yet you can also have somebody who doesn't just point out things that are naturally that come up, but rather everything becomes colored by that. Everything is about sex. Everything is about gender. And then it becomes a little distasteful. But it's that sort of joke, that distasteful joke, that is actually something that can be used by the demons, because there it can really be used to kind of put things down and minimize the reality of what is being discussed, whether it's the relationship between men and women or anything else for that matter. It limits reality rather than discovers something of reality, and so therefore it becomes useful to the demon. And so that's the third sort of thing that can give rise to laughter, is the joke. The right, proper joke, and then the, distasteful joke. And the last thing that can give rise to laughter is what he calls flippancy. And flippancy is really the playground of the demons. It's here that, the reality itself becomes the joke. It's not about pushing something onto a reality and distaste, but actually transforming and making the very reality or the very thing that God has created a joke unto itself. And so here he talks about, virtue. Rather than making, jokes about the virtue of chastity, jokes about the virtue of celibacy, jokes about the virtue of temperance, you actually make temperance, this virtue that God has created and has created us for, makes that into the joke. And so anything that is, temperate, anything that is chaste is just funny in itself. And that flippant way of speaking is the most, degrading to God. It's the most degrading of our nature. It's the most degrading of the true and lasting and enduring things that God has created us for. When we just allow them to become something that's flippant and we treat them as such, it's then that we really minimize our ability to, live into them and then therefore rejoice in them. And so that is letter 11. And for our next 4 letters, letters 12, 13, 14, and 15, you can join us this coming Thursday, October 1st. Can you believe it? It's going to be October. That night, 8 o'clock, Lori and I will again do a Facebook Live version of our discussions of the next 4 letters. I hope you're enjoying Screwtape. I always do, and it's a wonderful way to kind of meditate and to kind of think through some of the things that we do, some of the things that we experience. So I hope to see you on Thursday. Hope to see you at the live version of this. Otherwise, keep reading, and we'll come back and continue to enjoy more.